Hey everybody, this is Ryan with Rigs of Death Metal. Today my guest is Nate with Apothic and Glutton for Punishment, and very recently starting up the Shred Den with Rob Carlson.
Yep.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Busy. So as you said, Apothic and Glutton for Punishment in the Shred Den. Besides that, and working full time and being a family man with my lady and our pups, it's busy. I get I think maybe 10 hours a week to myself. So, but it's all in the name of metal.
Absolutely, I get it. It's the working class musician is more common than ever.
Yeah, but we do it to ourselves. I'm 43 years old, been playing in bands since I was 12, and always wanted to work at a guitar shop. So now I finally got that chance. And with both bands being busy Apothic just finished our album a while ago. Hopefully we are going to have that out and available in the next 2 months or so. We've just finished the artwork and all that stuff. And then Glutton just finished recording a 6-song EP, which is also coming out this spring. And then summer is festival season, so we try to hit as many of the fests in the Midwest here as we can. So yeah, it's all busy, man. But like I said, it's worth it. I love it. I mean, I wouldn't be doing anything else. So.
Fuck yeah, I'm so stoked. Which I liked Apothic an awful lot, and I was a big fan of Rob's different projects. So I thought it was pretty sweet whenever I saw you guys hooked up and you started playing with them too.
Dude, Rob's been a godsend since I moved from Fargo to Minneapolis almost 3 years ago now. I've known Rob for many, many years, and many by like 5 years. We're not like lifelong friends by any means, but I kind of bugged him into being my friend because he's a gear nerd like myself and loves death metal. So as soon as I moved into town, like literally I drove my U-Haul to his house. One, he offered me a job working for him, and two, offered me to play in Glutton for Punishment. Like I hadn't even been in town for like 10 minutes. So yeah, he's been a good guy to have in my corner, and it's pretty awesome to call him a friend, and to still be working with him, and we don't hate each other. So that's a plus.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Trust me, I've worked with plenty of people that I hated. So I get how that's such a blessing.
I worked in a strip club for 11 years, so I hate a lot of people.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I got that offer once upon a time, and thankfully I had the foresight to not do it.
Man, I mean, yeah, it's a job. It is what it is, but you get to see the dark side of humanity in any bar industry, but especially in a strip club. And yeah, I'm just glad to be out of that and just kind of, doing this stuff now. It's a little bit more healthy for my mental health, I should say.
For sure. Just out of gear nerd curiosity, I've seen you post pictures with, and you're always like, for any of the different live shows, trying out different guitars for the different shows, as any of us would want to do. Do you have like kind of at least a go-to idea for what you're playing with when like you're doing Apothic versus like Glutton for Punishment? Like it's like, oh, for this I need at least this tuning and an EMG or shit like that, or a specific amp.
Actually, I'm glad you asked that. That's I could talk about this for hours, which I won't, but so in Apothic we're tuned to B standard, and you obviously know I like my pointies. So I have my LTD SD1, the Sammy Dewey, one of the original 30 from Chondro Guitars. That's my like number one go-to for Apothic. And then my backup now is that BC Rich Extreme Ironbird. But I also have a backup to that backup, which is the Pat O'Brien Junior V. All those, and I'm not like a big like pickup guy. It doesn't really matter to me unless something completely sounds like shit. But I've been lucky enough where all those sound good because it's high gain shit. I mean, I'm playing through a PV Triple X or an EVH, 5153, yeah. And I plug straight in. I don't use pedals. in Apothic, that is. So I have all that set aside for Apothic stuff. And then when it comes to Glutton for Punishment, we're tuned to A standard. And since I thankfully got bumped up from being bass player to lead guitar player, I use 7 strings in that. So I use my Ibanez Universe, and then I use the I just got the Mark Halem Jackson RR24. And dude, oh, I mean, both those guitars, it's like I can't in Glutton, I can't really decide which one I like more. Like I grew up playing Ibanez, but I'm a kind of more of a Jackson guy now. So I'm glad they made the 7-string with the road shape. And it's, dude, if you have you played one of those yet? The Mark Halems?
No, I haven't even seen one in person yet.
Oh man, I fell in love as soon as I saw it. Like I, I've talked to Mark via Instagram, like on a post when he like talked about my guitar when I got it. Like super nice guy, super cool dude. I'd never been a big Suicide Silence fan, but he specced out that guitar just amazing. I mean, the way there's no neck dive. You got the Fishmans in there. It's beautifully crafted. I mean, kudos for specking out like one of the perfect 7-string guitars, you know. And with oh, sorry, what's that?
Oh no, I was just gonna add on to there. Like, I've chatted with Mark a little bit. We've talked about having him on the show too. That dude's legit. Like what, regardless of what some people may think about like Suicide Silence, like they're the poster boys for the whole deathcore thing. I get it. But if you like check out like what that guy, like the other music that guy's into, like he's legit about death metal. He loves like shred, like has great taste in gear. He's got good chops and tone. Like I'm a fan, you know?
Yeah, I can't say anything bad about the guy. And I'm not talking trash about Suicide Silence. It's just not my deathcore has never been my go-to genre. Everyone I've met in the deathcore scenes, you know, through playing shows in the past or wandering into a bar drunk, you know, many years ago when there's a deathcore band playing, always been cool with the dudes. It's just, you know, I don't pop it in my CD player or whatever the kids do these days for music. Yeah, it's just never been my go-to. It's always been old school death metal or like, you know, King Diamond, Merciful Fate, or just listening to Ride the Lightning on repeat. So, but yeah, the dude's a stand-up dude. And like I said, that Jackson he fucking specced out is awesome. If you get a chance to play one, man, check it out.
It does look sick. I even was looking at some of they're kind of similar, like the X series 7-string Rhodes with like,
Yep.
I think they're stock with EMGs maybe. Like even if I could find one of those handy, which I live in West Virginia, it's like nothing but mom and pop shops. Like there's not, I don't think there's a Guitar Center in West Virginia, period.
You're lucky. Those, because I hate Guitar Center. I have my own issue with them. Long story, but yeah, fuck them. But like we have a spot here, Capital Guitars, where bought a lot of stuff, and yeah, they're a Jackson dealer, and that's where I found that one, and was like, okay, this is coming home with me today. I need this in my life.
What just spec nerdery. What's the trem in that one? I know it's like some kind of Floyd.
It's off the top of my head. I can't remember because I'm not like I love playing guitars. I love everything about them. The two things I'm not is like a spec nerd, and I also hate working on guitars. Like right now, I'm setting up a Jackson Rhodes that I sold today for one of our customers. So I'm getting set up in the tuning he wants, but I absolutely despise doing it. Like some people are like, man, I love this stuff. No, I just want to play them, man. Like
Same.
That's the thing.
Yeah, like I've got like parts here on my desk that I need like for, you know, like little Mad Hatter, like little solderless system.
Yeah.
You ever seen those? It's like a wiring harness for your guitar. Like you just got your guitar out, and it's for like solderless pickup changes. Like it's literally a thing to make pickup changes easier, and I still procrastinate like crazy messing with it.
It's just it. I mean, I got it down to a pretty good science, but like I'd rather be spending that 20 minutes, you know, restringing and setting up a Floyd Rose guitar I'd rather be playing it or, listening to fucking death metal and not having to fiddle with locking tuners and adjustments and stuff like that. But I'm not rich enough to have someone do it for me. So here we are.
Right. Exactly. I was not to rehash another podcast, but I was just watching the most recent or listening to the most recent Riff Hard podcast, and they had Wes Hauk on there again. Who's just like one of my favorite, current dudes. He he referred to it was his way of referring to like practice time and like woodshedding. He referred to it as like going to church and like spending time in the church, and it's just like, sitting isolated with 6-string with 10s on it and standard E tuning, and like hashing out like harmonies and scales and like improvising, doing all the shit that makes you better.
Yeah.
And it made me guilt trip enough to where I spent a good bit of today like practicing new techniques with a metronome and shit.
You got to do it, man. I mean, like I've been playing for 35, 36 years now, and I still am looking for new techniques and things to keep growing as a musician. Because do I know everything? Absolutely fucking not. Do I know the bare minimum? Pretty much. I mean, a little more than that, since I am a teacher as well at the Shred Den. So if you're looking for lessons, hit me up. But like a few years ago, my girlfriend, she flew us out to Los Angeles so I could get lessons from Jodryn Gonzalez from Exmortis to really like clean up my sweeps and stuff. And that was amazing. And that really helped and paid off. So like, you're never too old to keep on learning new tricks, and you gotta keep practicing, man. I mean, I practice probably 2.5 hours a day.
That's solid. I don't think I definitely have put in that time for a long, and I did for a long time, but it's been a long time since I put in that kind of time on the regular.
It's tough, man.
2020 during like the shutdowns and everything, that was a good bit of time, woodshedding and all that stuff, and I cleaned up my chops a good bit, and cleaned up my picking hand, and tightened up my picking hand a good bit, but got I don't know about you, but I remember for a long time I hated sweep picking on the bridge pickup because all the little ugly little details would kind of come through more. So it was like,
is that why we hate it though? I mean, because I just like the thickness when you're on the neck. It has that like an angelic ring to it. It just like soloing in general on the neck pickup has always been one of my favorite things. But when I do sweeps, it's always flipping to the neck. And if I do it on the bridge, I mean, I guess I never really thought about it that way. I mean, that might be like a subconscious thing. You're not wrong.
I think because I fucking love soloing on the neck pickup too, which I'm sure a lot of our taste when it comes to soloing and lead playing is probably fairly similar.
Yeah.
For me, like that bubbly neck single coil, shreddy like Ingve meets, I don't know, any of the shrapnel stuff. That's the pinnacle.
That's stuff, man.
And it's especially for legato, sweep picking, anything that you want to have that real smooth, kind of fluid sound. The neck pickup kind of helps even and smooth that out a bit.
Yep.
But like I've just seen, I feel like almost the majority of metal guys, they're like, all it needs a bridge pickup. That's it, nothing else. Just a bridge pickup and maybe a volume, or even just a fucking toggle switch to turn the volume on and off. Like not even a knob.
I get that too, because in Apothic, like the BC Rich Junior V and the SD1 are both just bridge pickups with a volume knob. And, you know, in Apothic, I haven't really gone out into the soloing aspect of it yet, because, you know, we're 2 years into being in a band, and the first album I just wanted to stick with, like, just can we get by on riffs? Like, can we like make an impression with just riffs? And I think I mean, I like the album. I hope other people do, but I'm really proud of that album and how the riffs came out. So on album number 2, I'm trying to find a way to like sneak some solos in there, but I'm also the only guitar player too. And I know bands can pull it off. Like obviously Goatwhore, you know, Sammy just fucking shreds and he's a ripper. But like I just have that doubt in my mind. Like, can I do that same thing? I mean, I hope so. Like when the riff drops and it's just solo and bass, you got to be on point to make that work, especially live. So, but yeah, with the single just bridge pickup, I mean, I get it too. I do like it. It comes in handy with shit like that.
Um, that you reminded me of kind of the whole one guitar player band, ripping a solo, and then you're like have guitars dropping out. Yeah, yeah. And I've been in bands where that was kind of the situation too.
Yep.
And I'm sure we've all heard tons of like Pantera live videos, and even on some recordings too. Like you know, I'm having a hard time thinking of a specific one on the top of my head where Don didn't bother recording rhythm guitars. It just was Rex doing his thing and him ripping over top of it.
Is there a little section in Domination, like when he first starts that solo off?
I think so. I think so.
Space.
But
I mean,
it's with Rex's bass tone. It's pretty apparent when it happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, Don can pull it off, or could. But don't you think it flows a lot better, like with Goatwhore's situation, especially because TA is actually using some distortion on the bass too. So you've got that grit. It's kind of filling out the space a bit, and it's not as drastic, you know, like the band just lost a quarter of what was going on or something, you know?
Dude, that's 100% true. Like I'm a diehard fucking Goatwhore fan, probably my favorite band in the entire world, and seen them live probably 17, 18 times now. And yeah, dude, TA just fills that spot. And the thing is, I like too is the solo sections are like short and sweet. Like you get the point. It's not like you're not doing like a 12 measure solo where, okay, it's like, all right, guys, you know, let's get back to the groove here. They have it down to a science, and like that band has not released one bad song or one bad album in my opinion. And like I said, they just got it down to perfection in my eyes. It's just, and to pull it off live, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And I always thought it was cool that it seems like I just realized this is slowly turning into like a Goatwhore worship episode, but it is pretty cool how they still have room to introduce, like, sprinkle in some different elements and experiment a little bit, you know, just to keep things interesting, but it's always 100% Goatwhore.
You know what you're getting into, that like that Angels Hung from the Arches of Heaven. Like they added some, like the piano part really threw me for a loop, where you have that piano outro. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay. And then when I saw live on that tour, dude, just fucking every song that they played off that album just fucking knocked it out of the park. Yeah. Just fucking killed it. Didn't you interview Sammy not that long ago?
Yeah, they rolled them and Withered rolled through my hometown here, which so far, if you've seen any like in-person rig rundowns on our channel, it's probably just because they happen to be running through Huntington where I live. I did get to go see Guar and Napalm Death, and we interviewed John Cook out by their bus after the show. But I couldn't like get backstage or nothing. It just didn't work out. Yeah, no, we got to show up for their sound check and everything, and check out all of Sammy's fucking cool, just new stuff. Lots of Michael Klein stuff, including the
Yep.
new amp.
Oh,
Which,
dude. So when I used to do a little bit of a YouTube channel, I had Michael Klein on my channel once, and that dude, if have you ever had a chance to talk to him?
yeah, I've had him on the show. I
Oh
got a few
God, I
pedals from him too.
love that dude. He's
Oh yeah,
hilarious and
yeah,
just a genius.
yeah.
So I talked to him because I have a buddy that has a recording studio actually just like a few miles from his house. And I brought up the idea. I'm like, hey, man, I can't really afford one of those heads, but if I was to travel down and do some guitar tracks, could I possibly use one? And he's like, absolutely. I'm like, oh, sick. So we're going to see if we can make that work for like the next album or EP or something like that. But yeah,
Okay.
dude, Michael Klein, I love his stuff. Amazing.
Fuck yeah. Um, he's been taunting me for months now because so he's been on and off, and it's kind of a mutual thing because I've been like slowly kind of putting the money together for it, but he's been on and off working on this tube rack mount, like 1U rack mount tube preamp for me,
Okay.
and it's basically Sammy's amp, like just the preamp of it in a 1U rack space format.
Really?
Um, and every time that I try to like ask him about the price and stuff, he's like, "Oh, let me crunch that and get back to you," and just nothing. Just like he'll just send like memes and shit and just like just fucking taunting me.
Dude,
He's a fucking awesome dude. He's taken pretty good care of me and hooked me up a good bit.
good.
I've got three of his pedals right now. I think like two overdrives and the noise gate.
Okay.
Shit.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't have any in my collection yet, but I'm working on getting a D-Book and a Lonely Ghost. Every time I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger on it, something happens in life where, oh, look
uh,
at that. I need a, you know, new alternator or some shit because, life never slows down when you're a local fucking band musician.
uh, kind of on that note, and you have got to try, and probably largely due in part to Rob, but you've got to try some pretty sweet, pretty high end amps and guitars. But as far as amps go, what are just give me a handful that have really fucking impressed you like that, like have become like kind of your new pinnacle standards.
Okay. Oh, man. Alrighty. So, quick thing here before we get into that. Rob does have a lot of gear. He's more of a guitar guy and has a ton of amps. But our friend Ross, that man has a room filled with, I want to say, 75 or 80 high-end heads. I
Fuck.
think he has like one of every Marshall, one of every Mesa, a ton of like boutique heads and stuff like that. So I've tried. He actually owns the Mesa Mark II C Plus that was played by Prince on the Purple Rain album.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shit.
like dude, moving here, I've got to meet some legit people. So with Rob and Ross in the equation here, and here's me, who's just been a PV Triple X player for the last 20 some years. I've gotten a chance to use some cool shit. And on that note, I would say the Engel Special Edition. That is the probably the coolest amp, and that amp nailed, like, people chase tone. That had the tone I've been looking for my entire life. And they finally started doing like a reproduction of it, but it's only like $4,000, so can't really afford that.
Yeah.
But the Engel SE is number one. Number two would be the Boogie Mark IV. That's always been like my holy grail, old school Metallica tone and shit like that. And God, I just love the bite of that. It's just nasty and fucking raunchy sounding. Love that one. Another Engel the Marty Friedman, what's that one called? Just released not
Inferno.
that long. Inferno. Yeah, I just got introduced to that one about 2 months ago because in Glutton for Punishment, Rob wants us only to play Engels. So like Rob pretty much supplies my backline. So we got
Okay.
2 Vader full stacks. He's doing the Engel SE, and I was using a Powerball for a little bit, and I was like, dude, me and this Powerball just aren't vibing. And he goes, well, plug into the Inferno. I'm like, when did you get that? He has so many heads in the practice space. I just don't know what's new anymore. Dude, plugged into that, and that thing, for the price especially, they're like $1,900 or something like that. That thing fucking rips, dude. Oh man, dude, what's that?
Oh, I thought they were a little bit more than that. Like, I thought they were at least over two.
Well, maybe he bought one used that was like 19, but they're under the $4,000 mark for sure. They're under $3,000. I know that. So, I mean, anything over $2,000 is all $4,000, $5,000 in my eyes.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah, I'd say the Inferno, the special edition, the Mark IV have been, out of all the amps I played in the last 3 years of moving here, those are the ones that stick out the most. I've tried a ton of Marshalls, like literally, like he has like every single Marshall known to man, and me and Marshalls don't vibe. I just can't get a tone out of them, man. Personally, I don't know people love them, but for me, not so much. And then he's brought over some Soldanos, some Wizards. What else did he bring me? A Splon. You ever played one of those?
Well, I got a Kemper, so I played profiles of almost anything you can name of, but not quite this. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's not quite the same.
No, I get that. The Splon was up there for a little bit, and then after the Splon, that's when he brought the special edition. But yeah, it's until something comes better than the special edition, that's probably my number one. And one day, hopefully, I'll own one. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work because a lot of money.
What about that Vader amp head, the Carnivore?
Oh, the Carnivore. God, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't mind blowing though.
Yeah,
I think it's more sought after since I believe there's only 4 in existence.
Sure.
And like, yeah, you'll get some tone out of it, but like it didn't grab me by the balls like Mark IV or the special edition or the fucking Inferno, something like that. Even my Triple X, I would take over the Carnivore.
That's fair. Okay.
But I mean, it was cool to be able to play it. But yeah, it's like once you played it once, you're like, I'm good.
Sure.
And dude, the Vader dudes rule. Like their cabinets are fucking amazing. I just me and that's head didn't get along. So
yeah. I'm sure a lot of people that actually get a chance to play like a Klon or a Dumble probably feel a similar way. Like, yeah, it's good. I don't know if it's like $5 to $8 or whatever they run for good. You know?
Yeah. Well,
and
that's a people gear these days, man. It's so expensive, and everything's a special edition or not the angle, but it's like here's this limited run of this, and it's $10,000, and you play it, whether it be a guitar or a head or whatnot, and you're like, really, this is that much money? Like gear's just gotten insane, dude. Even the used gear market's just ridiculous still.
Definitely. I will say the PV Triple X is like the Triple X, the Double XL, which I guess is like the solid state version.
Yep.
And then like your typical 5150s and all that stuff. That just basically made up every amp in my local music scene when I was coming up. Was just like those 3 amps or a Line 6 Spider. It just depended on what your budget was.
That's the thing. Like with the PVs, I grew up playing them. One, because like it was a common name, and the music store that I lived like 4 blocks away from carried all things PV. So from starting with the Rage 158 to the Triple X full stacks I have now, I mean, there was a slow progression of just sticking with it. But the thing is, they're affordable, and in my mind or my eyes, I would take a triple X over a triple rectifier, and not just because I've been playing the triple X for a long time, but I love like the boogie stuff, like the Mark series, but like the
Mhm.
dual rec, the triple rec, just I don't like them, and
Yeah.
I know those are huge in death metal too, so I'm sure I'll get attacked for that one, but just it's not my thing. And that's the thing, like why you see so many PB 6505s, 5150s, because they're like fucking $1,000 cheaper, you know?
Yeah. The the rectifier is probably in my. I'd still say probably top three. It was like my gigging amp for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, could I play one without an overdrive? No, probably not. It's just kind of like a hard rock amp if you don't boost the front end.
That's the thing,
Um,
yeah.
and I even had like one of the good ones. It was like a 90s like 2 channel one, like a Rev F.
Okay.
Um, like one of the ones that people like gush over. and it's sounded really killer. But like without an overdrive, best you're getting would maybe be like some corrosion conformity kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like hard rock tone. That's best I can. But
Or just
with
stick tone. I mean, if you're talking Corrosion and Conformity Blind album, I'll take that tone any day. I love that album.
I could definitely get that. If with an overdrive, I could literally make that thing sound like anything.
Nice.
like
Nice.
and it had such a cool mid range compared to other rectifiers that I've tried. And I had in my old band, me and the other guitar player were both on rectifiers, and but he had like a newer like an early 2000s 3 channel. Didn't I? We couldn't make them sound the same. We tried, and it's just not happening. He had this like I don't know. His just always sounded to me like Ghost or Mastodon kind of thing, which I like. I love Mastodon, but
Yeah.
mine was just so much more pissed off sounding.
That's a kind of a common thing in a lot of tube heads I've noticed. Like especially 5150s. I owned one way back when, and Rob has one, and I think Ross has one too. And out of the three of them, none of them sound like super similar. Like you got that, high gain fucking sound, but uh, dude, tube amps they're fickle, man. That's why I like them. I mean, you never know.
Sure. Um, it's been kind of a nice reprieve going like digital for a little while.
Yeah.
I do still miss having like a cranked up tube amp in the house running through like a full stack and just being obnoxious.
About it, man. It's just it's rock and roll right there. Like I love full stacks. Do I love loading them around to play live? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Will I do it? Fuck yeah, I will.
right. It's actually got to the point to where I've considered spending money on a tube power amp um, for all kinds of purposes. Like um, I started going down the rabbit hole after that same podcast I mentioned earlier. They were kind of getting to the weeds on Metallica recordings, like Justice for All kind of stuff. Like talking. I don't know if have you what is that fucking Mesa Boogie power amp with like 12 6L6s in it?
Which
Is it
one is
the
that?
Strategy 400? Is that right? Or Coliseum or Strategy 400? Something like that.
Yeah.
But I guess that was one thing that they did was they took what were they using, the Mark 2C Plus or one of the Mark 3s? I can't remember.
So
What
I think Puppets was Mark II C. I think so because they were doing Marshalls and Tube Screamers pretty much for Ride the Lightning. I mean, I that's what I've been told, and I've seen pictures. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you have everything on the internet, but I want to say Master of Puppets was 2C, the Mark 2C, and I want to say Justice was a Mark 3 Blue Stripe.
Okay.
I think that's
That sounds right.
yeah.
I can't. My memory sucks, but um, and I can't remember what the wattage is of a Mark III, like 80 to 100 watts. I'm assuming.
I think it's like 90. I want to say maybe.
Okay, that's fair. But I guess what they were doing is, of course, and and they were talking about even how like the 5 band graphic EQ, even though they make like pedals and shit of that, the plate voltage that they were running because it was built into the amp, so it's a lot more, getting a lot more juice, and those sliders are doing a hell of a lot more, um, like dBs of gain on all those frequencies than like a pedal could be doing,
Yeah.
So cranking the mark and driving it and using the EQ sliders and then slaving it out to like this crazy 400 watt or whatever it is tube power amp and miking that cabinet. Uh, and so yeah, it's just got me considering all the possibilities of tube power amp,
Yeah.
like just running all kinds of pedals and just crazy shit into it, you know. Get all mad
He said, man,
scientist with.
nothing like just plugging into a fucking tube head in front of like even if just a half stack. It feels so awesome.
Right. Um, let's shift gears a little bit from gear
Mhm.
and kind of talk songwriting a little bit. So Glutton for Punishment, I know existed before you joined in there.
Yep.
How involved have you got to be with the writing, like the actual songwriting process so far?
Rob actually from day one was like, even when I was just playing bass, he's like, I want to sit down and write riffs with you, even though you're not the guitar player. So, excuse me, we've been writing together for the last 3 years. Has everything been getting used? Not so much all the time, but yeah, I get a fair amount of input. All of us do actually. Um, it's more of a democracy in Glutton for Punishment. Even though we all joke and say it's Rob's band and we're all hired musicians, we like give him shit about that because he's been that's his baby. But no, he really wants people to like have their input and you know like even if it's something small like hey let's do like a sick like Morbid Angel sounding harmony on this part while we're doing this like slow slam riff, you know. So it's cool. I mean, it's nice not to have someone that just is so this is my band. I write the stuff.
Yeah.
So he's not like that at all, which is awesome. Yeah, I get to and for right now I get 100%. All my solos are 100% me. So, but yeah, it's more of a democracy when it comes down to the songwriting.
Oh yeah. And what about Apothic? What's the situation like with that camp?
So that one, I'm in charge of all the riff writing. So what we'll do is it's kind of like a James and Lars situation. I will post a couple riffs or like here's a basic idea I have for like front to back to a song to our Apothic private page on Facebook, and the guys will like vote on it like oh we dig it or we hate it. So far they've liked them all, so that's awesome. But when we get that down, Braden will start like picking it apart a little bit, being like, all right, I want to do like 6 parts here and 4 here, 3 here, or whatnot. And then we get together and him and I get the song down super, super tight. And then Al and Neil will come in and throw down their bass and their vocal parts. And that's been working since day one for us. And it's kind of nice because you have that creative control, but also, Braden's not scared or, Al's not scared and Neil's not scared to be like, hey, I don't really like this, the way you're doing it here. Let's try it a little different. So, I'm not it's not a dictatorship at all.
Hell yeah. it's I feel like bands tend to, well, I mean, I guess everybody's different, but my experience, it's always been a, the collaborative effort seems to
Yep.
always come up with the coolest ideas. Whatever, for whatever reason, even if it was like I had a song, I thought I had an entire song written, show up to band practice, somebody inevitably has a cool idea that just takes it to a whole other level. You
Yep.
know, something I wouldn't have thought of normally. Um, which I don't know about you. There, there's maybe been a time or two where I've had like an idea shot down, and you almost want to, you almost like at least internally maybe get a little defensive, like what's wrong with it, you
Yeah.
know, like. But you just have to force yourself to be open minded, and eventually you're like, yeah, okay, maybe it's fine, or
Well,
maybe.
the way I look at it these days, like I said, I'm 43 years old. I've been doing stuff in bands since I was 12. And you kind of get over that whole like, well, you don't like this riff, I'm going to pack my shit and go home. I mean, some people still do that. I don't, but I'm always willing to listen to someone's ideas. Uh, Sometimes those ideas get used, sometimes they don't. Same with some of the riffs, like, hey, I really like this riff. I'm really proud of this riff. It's not really going to work for this. Okay, I'll find another use for it. But yeah, I've worked in all situations where it was 100% collaborating together as a band with like other guitarists as well. And this Apothic is the first time I've ever had full 100% creative control. So I'm kind of like enjoying that moment, if you will, because in all the bands, but like when I was in Fargo, uh, never had that, and I've always wanted it, especially for like this style of music because I really enjoy like the black death metal, the black and death, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's nice to be able to voice it in my way and have a group of people that 100% I trust everything they're going to be doing behind it. So hell yeah.
I definitely get that too. Um, I here a couple years ago, I tried to get a newer band up off the ground. It didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Multiple reasons. Um, One of the things that kind of discouraged me a little bit with it, it was a hardcore kind of thing, um, which is more of a hardcore scene around here than anything,
Okay.
which you might not think for West Virginia. Um, but yeah, I would have riffs, and even though it was a hardcore band, I somehow managed to shoehorn in some very death metal ideas. Like I very much emulated um, the what like the ending riff from Hammer Smash Face. Like I
Okay.
kind of had my own I made like sort of a hardcore version of it, and one of the other guys shot it down because he thought it was too metal. I was yeah, I was not pleased. So now where I'm doing like gear demos, and I kind of like to, like let the piece of gear inspire like, some different like song, even if it's just like a minute and a half, whatever. Um, just getting to be creative and on a regular basis, and I get to just write it, record it the way I want it, put it out, and don't have to wait on anybody or check with anybody or anything. I can just write it and put it out. It's pretty cool.
That's living the dream right there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I get the liberating sense there for sure.
And
Um,
it's not like I want to be in charge. It's just after however many years of being in bands, it's nice to feel that.
sure. No, I totally get it. Absolutely. Uh, I remember you said Glutton and Punishment. I remember you said the tuning for it. What tuning was Apothic in again? I'm sorry if
Apothic's
I
an B standard and
okay,
Glutton for Punishment's an A standard.
right. Okay. I remember you said A, but okay.
Yep.
and no preference on pickups. What kind of string gauge are you using for B and A?
So I actually like my strings to be rather loose. In Apothic, I use 11 through 46 to be standard, and I believe 12 to 52 in A standard. Or wait, no, I just bought a new pack. It's right here. In the A standard, I got the 7-string Ernie Ball Slinkies, 10 to 56.
Okay, interesting. Huh. I would say I kind of always like started off with like for standard E tuning, I was like 9 gauges,
Yep.
right? Like I guess tens are standard for a lot of people. I like a little bit, because I like to be able to bend.
Yeah.
um, Especially like the super high, nice cheesy '80s bends on the high notes. Like I have a 27 fret guitar and drop B just so I can still be able to get those like screeching, cracking, like high notes, even in like lower tunings. But yeah, 10 to 56 for A. That's oh wait, that one's for 7-string though, right?
Yep, 7-string. So you're pretty much
25.
taking like it's almost like the feelings how it would be if you have like 9s. That's how it feels. We were playing with a band from here called Raven, who's just not like the old school 80s band. They spell it different, and they're like a Black and Death band from here. And me and their guitarist, Steven, we're going back and forth, giving each other shit because he was overhearing what I was using for playing in B, the 11 to 46s. And he goes, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What do you use?" He's like, "Fucking 13s." I'm like, "For B? God, fucking settle down, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's fucking insane." Yeah, I played his guitar. He was playing like a Solar or something like that, and it's just like bridge cables. And I'm like, ah, but he can make it work, and it's fucking awesome. Their band sounds great. If you ever get a chance to check them out, Raven from Minneapolis, they're fucking awesome. But yeah, him and I would give each other shit about string gauge all the fucking time.
That's awesome. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like heavier on the bottom, like pretty like I don't know what scale length. The universe is probably 25 and a half. Do you know what the scale length is on that Mark Hellman? Isn't it a little longer?
I want to say is that a 25.5 or a 26.5? It's a little bit longer. Yeah, I want to say it might be 26.5 because
That's what
my the SD1 is 24.75, I believe. So yeah, they're vastly different. But yeah, I still like them nice and floppy because I don't have a heavy right hand. I'm not like a huge like digging in there. Yeah, it's all like super enough to make it fucking work. But like Rob, he's like huge into like straight up like just Hetfield style down picking, whereas I'm like a softer alternate picker. So we kind of have that good mesh there.
Yeah. It's that's kind of funny. That's one of the things that I've actually actually paid a little bit more attention to just in like the last couple of years.
Yep.
And it's one of those things I've always like I've heard people talk about that for years. I guess I never really thought about it myself, like what my picking's like. Because I guess I was focusing more on just like precision.
Yeah.
And trying to, because I was obsessed with shredding forever,
Yeah.
to the point to where it took me a while to catch up on songwriting. um, but yeah, it was like, well, heavy-handed makes me think that they're like kind of sloppy sometimes and like not as precise or articulate. Like if you're really chunking down, you're probably picking past where you need to go, and you got to come back to get the next thing. But I don't know. Try to find a balance, I guess.
Like watching Rob like our playing styles are just fucking night and day difference. But the dude is a fucking machine. He just on it. Like he's not sloppy at all, but he's more of the down picker. Like, and
Nice.
it's funny because I'm like the huge Metallica fan. So is he, but not he won't admit it as much. But yeah, he gets that precision that way. And me, it's always been alternate picking. And I always, like I said, I'm not like it's not like light as a feather the way I'm picking, but it's just more a lot more gentle than just that fucking just really aggressive down pick. And it's always worked for me. I mean, playing a high gain amp, you really don't need to be hitting the strings that hard to be getting the full effect. I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, once you're adding enough layers of distortion, it's also adding a lot of compression.
Yep.
So it's not going to be even remotely as dynamic as a clean to lightly broken up guitar tone. It's just how it works. Especially if you're playing through actives, then it's just almost, uh, almost a mute point.
It's and the thing is, like, when it comes to tone, guitars, picking styles, anything like that, of like people that are happy in their ways of what they're doing, I'm not going to give anyone shit on how they do it if they're doing it right and it's sounding good. Fuck yeah, I'm not going to be like, you need to pick different or you need to fucking change your shit. No, dude, as long as you're fucking happy, man, that's the best. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. One of my earlier influences was Mike McKenzie or Gunface from the Red Chord.
Okay.
That was kind of like one of the bigger extreme acts whenever I was like really getting into music. And like Despise Icon, I guess I guess they're sort of considered the first wave of the deathcore thing.
Okay.
And then Suicide Silence was like on the heels of those guys, I believe. But yeah, like the Red Chord, very, very quirky style riffing, and a lot of it is due to like Mike's like playing and technique and a lot of his musical ideas.
Yeah.
For one thing, when he does like chugs, he plays everything on upstrokes instead of downstrokes because he was self-taught, and that's just how he learned. So when you're hearing like the big open chugs, he's upstroking every bit of it.
That's insane. Awesome.
Yeah, and he can do it like Hetfield level down picking, but it's upstrokes. It is the craziest shit.
That's awesome that someone can do that. That's fucking sick, dude.
If that's the only way you learn, well, it's like when you see these guys that learn to play guitars like backwards or upside down, like they're left-handed, so they took a right-hand guitar and flipped it up.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of guys learn that way, and it's wild just to see people adapt to that kind of shit.
Dude, yeah, there's a dude in Fargo, BJ is his name, and he played in a couple punk bands and whatnot, and he did that. And I was always like, why don't you like restring it? He's like, I'm more comfortable this way. I'm like, dude, doing everything like 100% opposite, your power chords, your scales, your picking, and he just shredded. I mean, not like he wasn't like a shredder, but he was just ripping, like doing that. It's amazing to me. That's fucking cool as shit. I gotta check out that.
Yeah.
What's his name for the Red Chord again?
Mike McKenzie.
Okay.
His nickname was Gunface, and I'm not really sure why.
I'm gonna check that out tonight, man. That's cool.
Dude, the Red Chord was legit. Like they get lumped in with deathcore, but it's honestly they're one of those bands you'll hear it. I'm sure when people think deathcore, they think like Suicide Silence or
Artifacts.
Yeah, and this isn't anything like that. So like, they were legit, like they were like really into Suffocation and Buried Alive, and wanted to try to hodgepodge that together as best they could, kind of deal.
Okay.
So as opposed to they really liked Cannibal Corpse and also Korn, which I think is what a lot of those later bands were more influenced by.
God, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I never really broke it down that way, but huh.
Hey, I can't remember who said it. I know one of them. It might have been Mark. Might have attributed. I know a lot of them have attributed bands like Korn and like Deftones, as well as like some of the bigger '90s bands like Suffocation and Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, which I mean that's fine.
It is what it is. Like I'm not a gatekeeper elitist as much as I like to play one on Facebook. But
Oh, it's
like
always fun just to play, just goofing around.
but I'm that first Korn album, yeah, it's actually not bad. It's pretty good. I saw them in like 93 or 94 when that came out. And yeah, I was like, dude, this is something different. That's cool. And the thing I really got to give them credit for is they got Ibanez to bring back the 7 strings again.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'll fucking dude, props for that. That's fucking awesome. I mean, anything to get the universe back.
I swear, there on those first two records, there are some straight up like borderline copyright infringement, Morbid Angel riffs on some of those first couple Korn records. Like,
You're
there's some
wrong.
shit that's close. Let me see. Is there kind of switching back over to gear for a 2nd?
Mhm.
Is there anything that you're currently like eyeballing? I mean, it's always cool to window shop for sick new pointy guitars.
Yes.
Is there anything that outside of ooh shiny new toy, uh, is there anything like you have a specific need for something like a problem solver kind of piece of gear? Like it could be something like you need, I don't know, like a rack case or something to travel with, new wireless, something to serve a purpose.
I actually have been kind of shopping around for a wireless system. Not because we play like huge stadiums or anything like that, but those smaller stages, you know, it gets cramped up there, and you're. Have you ever had your shit unplugged while you're playing live? It sucks.
Fuck yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I've been
By
eyeballing some of
myself.
those. Those are fairly inexpensive these days compared to other gear, like 150, between 150 to 250, something like that. So that'd be one thing I would definitely be looking at, and possibly a better pedal board, because
Okay.
I don't play pedals live, but at home I have this tiny little thing, and I really skimped out on it, thinking I'm only going to get like one pedal, but now I'm up to like 4, and I just need something a little bigger. So I mean that's not that big of a problem, but yeah, those two things, other than like new guitars and new heads and shit like that. Yeah, that.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
and a couple more hard cases.
Nice. Uh, yeah, you ought to check out. I've got two. I've got like a bigger pedal train one that's like my studio board, and then
Yeah.
I've got like a smaller one that I used to gig with. And the smaller one's made by Gator, and I think it's just called like the Bone or something like that because it's literally shaped like a dog bone or something. Um, which I think I would fit maybe 4 to 5 pedals, four
Okay.
maybe a wah pedal or some shit. Uh, they're pretty inexpensive, and there's like a million and one of them on Amazon too. But
Like the one I'd be looking for specifically, because I have one of those smaller ones where it's just I can fit my Harvey Audio. I use Paul Johnson from the band Gorgatron from Fargo. He builds
yeah,
these pedals, Harvey Audio, and I've got his Odyssey pedal. I've got a chorus, and then he built me a custom inverted cross pedal, which literally just lights up an inverted cross because I'm a fucking nerd. And then I got a tuner. So the pedal board itself, I guess, is fine, but I think I need to find something for if I do choose to start using pedals live, a better case to carry it. Like I always wanted one of those ones like you just like unzip it, fucking open it, and your shit's all fucking plugged in. All you got to do is find some
Yeah.
juice for it, and you're good to go. But no, I have this thing and it has like a little like sleeping bag it goes in, and I tried using it once. I'm like, this is just a fucking nightmare. Not going to deal with this anymore.
Yeah. um, man, you know what? That just reminded me. Who the fuck is it? I want to say Friedman just put out their own pedal boards,
Okay.
and they looked pretty cool. And they had kind of like some modules and stuff, like a power supply and like a little in and out that you could uh, put into the board itself, like that kind of fit like underneath it, that had like little slots sticking out.
Yeah.
Looked looked way more compact, a lot less wires and shit hanging out. Like way tidier. That might be something cool. It's probably a little pricey being Friedman, but I mean it looked legit.
I mean, as long as
Right.
it's not like fucking, $2,000 for a fucking pedal board. I mean, I'll pay a couple
Right.
hundred for it for convenience. Definitely. Fuck
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. Also, side note, Paul Harvey makes some badass shit. I got one of his overdrives, the Commando one.
Mhm.
Yeah, that thing's sick. When I recorded the demo track for that video, I recorded all the rhythm guitars on like the tight setting.
Yeah.
And then whenever I went to track leads, I literally just switched it to the fat setting. Perfect for leads. I didn't have to do anything else. Like it just worked fucking awesome. It's like, damn.
Dude.
It almost made me wish it had like a foot switch for that mode. Like and then I would totally gig with that.
That's not a bad idea. Something to bring up to him. I mean, he always is willing to listen to like how to make things better. He'll make custom pedals for people all the time. And dude, like I've known Paul for 20 plus years, and to see him like crank out these just amazing pieces of gear, like my whole pedal board besides the tuner is all Harvey audio. I mean, I love his stuff.
Yeah.
Fucking just super proud of him. Super glad to call him a friend,
Hell yeah. He was a super nice guy. Originally I was gonna send that pedal back to him after the demo was done, and he was just nice enough. He just let me go ahead and keep it whenever it was done. He was pleased with the video, so super gracious for that. And I'm
Yeah.
definitely holding on to that thing forever. Just I don't know. I always feel weird when people do send me stuff to keep. Like I feel obligated to like hold on to it forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, man, he made a pedal recently for old dude from Pyrexia. I don't know.
Oh,
Have you seen that?
yeah. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but super good dude, and that pedal fucking rips.
It's like an Ampeg VH140C in a box.
Yep.
Yeah, I need one. I need to get one of those. I keep meaning to message him like, "What's up with that? You got going? You got any more of them? Yeah. What's that fucking Tyrone Biggums meme? Like, you got any more of them Ampeg preamps lying around?"
Fuck yeah.
Fuck it. Well, I actually just looked at the time. I've held you up a good bit here. Do you got time for one more?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, we'll close out with the way we always close these out. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Ask you to give me your top 4 death metal bands and or albums, whichever you think you are more capable of doing on the spot.
Okay. So, Carcass Necroticism. That's probably my number one.
Ooh, okay.
I would go Morbid Angel Domination, just due to the production and the riffs on that album. And I'm I'm a David Vincent guy. I love him. I think he's fucking awesome in Morbid Angel. What he's doing with the country stuff, I don't really give a shit. But Domination, when I was like 15 or something like that. That album changed my fucking life. And here's actually a band that's been around for a while, but I literally had never listened to them until like a couple weeks ago. Fucking Bloodbath, like the Peter Tatgren era. Always been one of those bands I've heard of, but I've never listened to an actual song of them. And I got brought up to my boss, a different boss, and he's like, "You never fucking listened to Bloodbath?" And brought me out to his car and just fucking cranked it, and he played me Eaton, and I was like, "Dude, this is life changing." He's like, "Yeah, that's Peter fucking Tatgren from Hypocrisy on vocals." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" So Bloodbath is now in like my all-time top favorite death metal bands because I've just been listening to nothing but that. So 4. Oh God, what would the 4th one be? You know, I'd have to go with Black Dahlia Murder's Nocturnal. That album front to back is just a fucking banger, dude. Love it.
Sorry, you hit on a nostalgic spot for me. Because I remember getting to go see Black Dahlia whenever they were still touring on Nocturnal, and
Yep.
and Brian was such a sweetheart. I was like 16 or 17 at the time. I couldn't even like drink in the bar that we were seeing him at. And got to meet Brian, and he was such a sweetheart. Saw a couple fucking dopey kids, and he had like posters and shit, and he wrangled up everyone else in the band as they were walking into the venue and introduced us to them just so they could sign our stuff. Like, he didn't have to do that.
Dude,
But,
they've always been so nice anytime I've seen them. Great dudes.
Yeah. Super great people. I think what introduced me to legit death metal was Cannibal Corpse's Kill.
Mhm.
Like, about the time it came out. Because I'm 32, so that I was, I guess, a little bit late overall. But fucking Nocturnal, I think, is what really like baptized me into the death metal. You know what I mean?
It's such a good album. So fucking good. God, I love that shit. And there's being on the spot trying to pick 4, it's really tough, but those are the 4 that like I kind of like are my go-tos, because there's so many fucking great bands out there, man. There's so many great fucking extreme death metal bands and extreme black metal bands and all that shit. Fucking love it, man. But yeah, it's tough to just pick a few.
Right. But no, killer list.
Thank you.
Nate, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun, man, and I know we've had some interactions like through the page and shit like that over the years. Thought everything that you and Rob do, been doing, cool as shit. We'll have to do this again sometime with and have Rob on here with us, and
sure,
we can talk about his whole house of expensive ass guitars.
That'll be like a 3-part series.
I believe it.
But no, thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Anything you want to plug again real quick? I know we did a brief one there at the beginning. Anything you want to throw up there real quick before we head out?
So Apothic's self-titled release will be available. We're looking at late spring. Glutton for Punishment's 6-song new EP will be available also late spring. And if you are in the Osseo, Minnesota area or the Minneapolis surrounding area, come visit us at the Shred Den. Just a lot of killer fucking gear. We'd love to come. If you love pointy guitars, you're going to love our store. So find us on Facebook. And dude, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Nate. And thank everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time.